All right, guys, how's everybody doing today? I want to talk about Dave Gettleman and why I would keep Dave Gettleman for the New York Giants. So, Dave Gettleman, the reason why I would keep Dave Gettleman is because Jerry Reese put this franchise in a lot of flux with the Olivier Vernon contract, with the $200 million of contract there for Olivier Vernon. Also, you look at Janoris Jenkins' contract, and he's been an all right player, but he hasn't been a difference maker for this football team. So you just look at these contracts, and you look at these contracts in that realm. And Dave Gettleman had a lot to clean up here with the New York Giants, and he's beginning his plan. He's addressed the right positions. He addressed offensive guard, where they have Will Hernandez and Kevin Zeitler, and Zeitler is the best O lineman on the team. Look at Jalapeno and Pulley, and I would personally like to select a center to compete at that position. Mike Remmers, that could be utilized as a definite failure. And then Nate Solder has not been playing well at all. So Nate Solder, the bottom line is it's very hard to find a left tackle in the National Football League at any level, either of the draft or of the first few rounds. It's very hard to hit on a bookend tackle, and you absolutely need a bookend tackle to compete. So Dave Gettleman tried to find the best tackle on the market, and Dave Gettleman, he loves offensive line play, and Dave Gettleman has been here for the Super Bowls in 2007 and 11, so he knows the capacity of what the New York Giants need. Dave Gettleman also addressed the secondary. He selected DeAndre Baker, Sam Beal, Julian Love, who's now going to be a safety with Jabril Peppers. He's now going to be the next safety. And he brought in Bethea to teach Julian Love. And Julian Love is really good in run. He played the run very well against Philadelphia. DeAndre Baker is coming on as of late. And James Betcher is such a terrible coordinator that I don't care what talent you're going to have. James Betcher, if you don't have the right coordinator on a side of the football, you're going to get exposed in the National Football League. That's just how the National Football League is. So James Betcher, I think, is the problem with this entire team. It's the defensive coordinator. It's the coaching staff. It's not the players. It's not Dave Gettleman selecting these guys. Ryan Connolly got hurt. The Ogletree trade doesn't look great. Lorenzo Carter and B.J. Hill haven't been very good this season, but B.J. had a decent year last year. Dexter Lawrence is really playing pretty solidly in the run game. Leonard Williams is a guy who also is making some really nice plays. So if the Giants can then get an edge rusher in the first round, which they desperately need, because Marcus Golden has also been one of the better signings of Dave Gettleman. So you then have Golden, who maybe could play for a few more years. You have Lorenzo Carter, who's also in the rotation there. You need a great pass rusher. The Andrew Thomas of UGA is a good offensive lineman, but at the same time, this needs to be a defensive football team. I mean, the draft early on, very early at the top, has gone to offensive players, which Daniel Jones, you needed to replace Eli Manning in some facet. So you got a Daniel Jones who looks like he could really be a competent quarterback at this level. Like, you look like you can win with him as a quarterback. He's not a special talent. He's not a Mahomes. He doesn't have the ceiling of Drew Lock or even a Kyler Murray. Or Josh Allen, but he looks like a guy that week in and week out is going to make plays for you on third down. He's smart, and and again, he's learning the NFL. He still would have been a senior in college, so he's learning, and he's just going to get better and more consistent as he continues to see more defenses. I believe that you need an offensive coordinator that really is simple, that for the next coaching staff, I believe that first you need to go defensive. And there's a couple of good candidates. So if you don't get Riverboat Ron, if you don't end up getting Matt Rule or Lincoln Riley, I think would be a very good coach to hire, because Lincoln Riley, knows how to run the football. He had Joe Mixon, Rodney Anderson. He's had good running games at Oklahoma, but if you don't get those guys, then I would actually look at Brent Venables from Clemson. I would absolutely give Brent Venables an opportunity because Brent is 48 years old. He has the best defense at Clemson every year. Those guys are unbelievable on the defensive side of the ball, and they just pump out NFL talent. And he's been one of the best defensive coordinators in collegiate football for years and years, and he has unbelievable energy. The players absolutely love him. He's tough. He's intense. He's exactly like what I would want in a head coach. And the guys are very, very disciplined on Clemson's defense, and they're very good in the secondary. You look at guys that have been drafted high in the secondary. You have Alexander from the Vikings. Trayvon Mullen is a guy that was drafted high in the secondary. Khalil Farrell of Clemson. The guy Christian Wilkins, drafted by the Dolphins. So Brent Venables has pumped out a ton of defensive talent out of Clemson. You also look at Jim Leonard, who also is a young coach who's very who has great discipline, and as a safety, he understands cornerbacks. He understands the secondary. So Jim Leonard, a possibility. Dave Aranda. Now, does Dave Aranda have the ability to, communicate and do players love him? I think they do. And Dave Aranda, every single year, whether he was at Wisconsin or at LSU, had unbelievable defenses. So, with Dave Gettleman, did you guys expect with James Betcher and Pat Shurmur, if Dave Gettleman selected, Josh Allen, if he selected Bradley Chubb and Drew Lock like in the second round, like maybe Dave Gettleman selected Drew Lock, maybe he was just that good, but he selected Daniel Jones over Haskins, which I think I really think is a good move. He traded Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham's not winning any games in Cleveland. He wants to get out of Cleveland. If Odell Beckham was on this Giants team, he would absolutely be demanding a trade, and then you would get even less for him. Instead, you get a Jabril Peppers who's going to be a starting safety. You get Kevin Zeitler and Dexter Lawrence out of that trade. Well, you get Peppers, Dexter, and Kevin Zeitler, and then Olivier Vernon also left. He didn't pay for Landon Collins. So there's a lot of bad contracts that he didn't pay for. He's not paying for Vernon. He's not paying for Beckham. He's not paying for Landon Collins. Is Landon Collins adding up to wins? Absolutely not. He tried to trade Jackrabbit Jenkins. He traded Snacks Harrison, and in that pick, he utilized like a Ryan Connolly. Xavier Zimenez, the X-Man, had 2 sacks. So X-Man is another pass rusher that you add to Lorenzo Carter. The defensive line of Leonard Williams, the rotation of Tomlinson Williams, Dexter Lawrence, and B.J. Hill, that's a good defensive line rotation. It is. And then you add, and Marcus Golden was one of the better offseason signings that the Giants have had. And the Giants are in these games. It's just that Shurmur is not a great motivator as a coach. He's a very overrated offensive coordinator. People think he's a really good coordinator. What he did in Minnesota was manage the game with Case Keenum while Mike Zimmer's defense was at peak of powers. That's what he did. So for the next Giants coach, it's got to be a really good defensive mind, period. Now, if Lincoln Riley, one of the most special offensive minds, is in the mix, or Joe Brady, I wouldn't be absolutely pissed. But you need to find a defensive guy that has had a ton of success, that knows what the heck he's doing. Whether it's Leslie Frazier, whether it's I know Wade Phillips is probably not going to leave. Matt Eberflus has been a good defensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts. It's finding guys that can adapt. It's finding teachers, and this defense just needs teachers. You have Sam Beal, DeAndre Baker, Julian Love, Ballantyne. There are cornerbacks on this team that are ready to be developed. Jabril Peppers. You have pieces on this defense. I don't think that you could just say that the talent is absolutely awful on this defense. I think that the defense just needs to be taught. And Dave Gettleman has given these coaches an opportunity to teach these players. So I don't really think that it's completely a Gettleman problem. I think he's done the most with what Jerry Reese has left him to do. And what would you guys have done if you were the GM? I mean, maybe you take Drew Lock in the second round. maybe you take a Drew Lock in the second round. And that's thinking very outside of the box. So maybe you take a Josh Allen and then you wait for a Drew Lock. I mean, that maybe that's what you do, but none of the other guys did that either, except for Denver and John Elway. And John Elway's taken a lot of flack, and I think John Elway has done a really good job. So, I mean, you guys that want to get rid of Dave Gettleman, you probably don't like Gettleman because he's traded off some of your favorite players. You might even have like a vendetta against Dave Gettleman for the way that he maybe talks in press conferences. He is an egotistical guy. He could sound arrogant to some. I understand that. He's definitely a personality back there. But Dave Gettleman, I really think this is a Shermer and a James Betcher problem. And the Eli Manning $20 million contract, first of all, for Daniel Jones, those $20 million, if Daniel Jones pans out in this league, I mean, this year of being with Eli Manning is really priceless for the development of Daniel Jones as a quarterback. And this is just his rookie year. So it's really hard for Dave Gettleman to win games when Daniel Jones is making horrible mistakes and turning the football over. So I look at Eli Manning, and he was definitely a mentor. The owners, first of all, if you're working for John Mara and the ownership, you need to abide by their rules. And the owners, Mara and Tisch, wanted Eli Manning to stay another year. So Dave Gettleman, in that instance, you are an employee and you do what your bosses want. And that's exactly what Gettleman did. He kept Eli Manning. He drafted a young quarterback that got to play in this league, and Daniel Jones has gotten some good experience. He's had an up and down season. James Betcher is a defensive coordinator. First of all, Todd Bowles was really the defensive mind in Arizona, and there's a reason why Bruce Arians was let go, fired, whatever, resigned. It's because James Betcher is not a good defensive coordinator at all. Players are out of position. Players are not understanding what to do. And it's no wonder that Janoris Jenkins, everybody's getting frustrated because they know that they're not being taught at the highest level. And that's why the next Giants coach is going to be a defensive coordinator. I really do believe that Gettleman deserves to stay. And if the coach wants to have final say, then Dave Gettleman needs to work directly with the next coach that comes in and maybe take like an advisory role with the Giants. And pretty much Dave Gettleman is crucial for the next coach because Dave Gettleman can tell you about these players, what they do well and what they're lacking. So I believe that just getting rid of Gettleman with the Jerry Reese contracts that this team had with the Ben McAdoo era, and now you have Shermer and Betcher, the fact that you want to get rid of a guy that's just picking these players, it's not Gettleman's fault. I really do believe that these players have talent, and I believe that the next coach that's going to come in here, I really do believe that the Giants could go 9-7, 10-6. You look at the X-Man that Gettleman brought in. Marcus Golden has really overachieved from his days in Arizona. He has about 9 sacks. Dexter Lawrence, this run defense is getting very, very good. DeAndre Baker is making a lot of progress, and I really am excited about his future. Ryan Connolly, Darius Slayton on the offensive side of the football, Saquon Barkley, Hernandez, and Zeitler. This is a team next year, I fully expect them to be able to compete for a wild card or divisional title next year. I don't just think that this team is not saddled with terrible contracts. He let Landon Collins walk. He traded Odell Beckham, Vernon, and Snacks. So he's made the difficult decisions. He signed up Sterling Shepard. Golden Tate has been signed here. So Dave Gettleman has made the difficult decisions. Dave Gettleman has made difficult decisions, and the Giants are now in shape to move forward with a quarterback, a running back, and a young defense. I mean, this is a very attractive job, and I just think James Betcher is so dog shit at his job that that's why the Giants defense just doesn't know what to do, because these are talented players. They just are not getting taught in the correct manner because it's a coaching problem. It's not a talent problem. I've liked everything that Gettleman has done. And the fact is that with the limited cap space that you had, you didn't have the opportunity to spend money in free agency to actually get better. So Dave Gettleman is rebuilding, but he's not going to admit to you that he's rebuilding. And just quitting on a guy, this is his baby, this is his plan. Just quitting on a guy a couple of years in, I really don't think is appropriate. Because Shermer and Betcher are terrible, terrible coaches. And the owners hired those coaches. So Dave Gettleman, the owners now, let's get in a really good defensive coordinator to teach these guys up and play to their strengths. And I really do believe that this is a good football team filled with good players. I do. And this next coach that's going to come in, I really expect a huge, huge improvement, maybe from 5 wins to maybe 10, 11 wins. About Chase Young and about addressing the upcoming draft, I want these young kids like Baker, Julian Love, Dexter Lawrence. I want these kids to win. And I want Eli Manning in his last couple games. I'm rooting for this team to gain momentum from the way that they played Philadelphia and beat the Miami Dolphins. And I want this team to also beat the Redskins, and I want them to beat the Eagles. I want them to go 3-0 down the stretch. So that adds up to a 5-11 season, and you end the season well with a lot of games that came down to one possession. This team needs to know how to win. You then absolutely get rid of Pat Shurmur. Even if you win the next 3 games 40-0, Shurmur is not the guy. So you're still going to end up firing Pat because of his inability to win against the Cardinals, the Jets, some real shit teams, the Lions. Shurmur doesn't get the most out of players. His decision-making at the end of games, whether it was punting against the Patriots, not taking that timeout with 45 seconds left to get the football back with Eli Manning and to get in the field goal range for Aldrick Rosas, he lacks the aggression. And defensively, he has been a train wreck in his hiring of James Betcher, in thinking that James Betcher was a really good defensive coordinator, and really in utilizing the talent that Dave Gettleman has brought in. He is not a CEO, and he does not understand defensive football at all. And then offensively, this offensive line hasn't been good. The running game is bad. He's not pounding the ball to Saquon Barkley. It needs to be a run-first team with the play-action pass being second. So Dave Gettleman, Pat Shurmur, has not done his job even offensively in terms of ball control. And that whole second half was a disaster, and Shurmur is an absolute disaster from a defensive standpoint, offensively, and he really doesn't have that passion that you need from a New York Giants coach, and he's lost so many winnable games, and these players have quit on him, and now Janoris Jenkins is freaking out on social media. I really think Jenkins absolutely he shouldn't be here next year. These are all good kids that Dave Gettleman has drafted. Shurmur's a good guy overall. He's a good person, which is, again, an upgrade over Benjamin McAdoo. But I'm telling you guys that that next year, I really think the offensive line needs to be prioritized. Now, I would like an edge rusher to put the defense over the top. I would love Espinoza. I think that's the guy that I really want. Or Isaiah Simmons from Clemson. Because I do not think that this team is losing to Miami. I don't think this team is losing to Washington. And there's a very good chance this team is beating Philadelphia in the last game of the year at MetLife Stadium with the receivers that the Eagles have, just not having any talent. Their running game sucks, and they have a lot of problems there in Philadelphia. So Dave Gettleman or Pat Shurmur is just not the guy that's going to lead this team to the promised land. Now's the perfect time to get rid of Pat. Pat's time. He knows he's a defeated man. He doesn't have any energy. He's juiceless on the sideline. He doesn't inspire confidence in the press conferences whatsoever. Now is the time to get rid of Pat Shurmur. Unequivocally, that is what needs to happen. But Dave Gettleman is just crafting this plan, and Dave Gettleman has hit all the positions of need. He hit the offensive line hard, and he's going to continue to do that. He hit the secondary hard. And these are rookies and young guys just learning to play together. And James Betcher is not. He is over his head. He doesn't know how to prepare a defense. So you can't expect these young rookies to produce at this level when they do not know what they're doing on the field. I mean, Jenkins is telling you, he's the one guy who will talk, that this team doesn't know what they're doing week to week. So they have incompetency leading them. And in this NFL with smart coaches, they're going to get exposed because they're not being taught well. Hal Hunter and the offensive line. Also, there needs to be better offensive line coaches, a priority on running the football, creating ways for Saquon to run the football. Evan Ingram is a talent. You look at what Noah Fant is doing out there in Denver. You look at Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. Evan Ingram is a good selection, actually, by Jerry Reese. He is a weapon, and when he was healthy, he was a very good security blanket and player for Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones also throwing over the middle to Tate and Shepard. So this is a team. I believe, honestly, that this team is a lot closer than people think. I'm very excited for the new head coach to come in there. I would look at Dave Aranda. I would look at Brent Venables. I would look at Jim Leonard, Matt Eberflus. I would look at those guys. I would look at defensive coordinators that are elite. Of course, we have Matt Rule, number one on my list. Riverboat Ron, I think, is a decent coach, and he would get along with Gettleman. I think he's decent on the defensive side of the ball. I think he's pretty good. I mean, his defense though this year was, so Matt is perfect. Lincoln Riley is a high upside hire, be exciting. Joe Brady's a high upside hire. There's a lot of ways to go. Aranda, Jim Leonard, Brent Venables. You got to look at the best coordinators defensively in college football. So you got to look at some really good coaches in terms of defensive coordinators. So it's all about teaching these young guys how to play and all about teaching a plan and a concrete way of how you're going to attack. It's all about that. And I just wanted to defend Dave Gettleman. And this job is hard, and he's addressed these positions, and the benefits of his selections will be made apparent over time with better coaching. So I like what Dave Gettleman has done every stretch of the way. I would not get rid of him whatsoever. And Shermer, with the schedule this year, it's been unacceptable as in-game decision-making. So I would get rid of Shermer and Betcher. And for Dave Gettleman, I like the direction that he has put this franchise in. I like the decision of getting rid of Collins, Snacks, JPP, Odell Beckham Jr. I've liked those decisions that Gettleman has made.